they're clamoring to this message. Like watching RFK and Trump at a rally, it's the most electric political experience I've ever seen. Like it was the loudest applause I've ever heard. There's something visceral when RFK starts talking about the CDC needing Dr. Jay Bhattacharya on there and the FDA, you know, and the NIH, and starts naming those agencies and starts saying we're going to get to the bottom of why our food for our kids is poison and we're going to reverse childhood chronic disease by taking on this corruption. When they say that, it's electric. It's like a release. Yeah. It's like a release. So it's everything. Everyone's been listening to you, reading these books, trying to put the pieces together. I think RFK is more effectively putting the pieces together. And I think people ask, oh, President Trump, he eats unhealthy. No, President Trump's, the foundation of his existence is taking on corruption. Like that is why he's on the political stage. That is why he's been the defining, for whatever you think of him, the defining political figure of our generation. Like because he's tapped into this frustration of voters that something isn't quite right. Yeah. And that they're good people, and if we can get this corruption out of the way, that he's standing in the way of this corruption, and we can unleash the American people if we get this corruption out of the way. That thesis is correct. Like what he has tapped into is the defining political trend of our lifetimes, this populist uprising that's happening throughout all the world. He has tapped into that in a very powerful way. He's talked for a long time about pharmaceutical corruption and these issues. He understands it innately. But RFK really, I think better than anyone alive, is sharpening this issue. And he's arguing, as we're trying to argue, it's very simple. It's actually not that complicated. You just need to put, truly, as a first step, put Dr. Jay Bhattacharya at the CDC. Right? Put someone who's not trying to get their next job at pharma, who's aligned with this fundamental agenda at the NIH, at the FDA, at the HHS. And then have people like Elon. Elon saying he wants to run government efficiency. He wants to look at how government's performing. HHS is the largest and the most expensive department in all of government. What if someone like Elon, so people like Bill Ackman who are joining this cause, what if they were given an executive order to analyze the HHS against the goal of promoting health and thriving and disease reversal for the American people? You have the smartest people in the world doing that. I mean, you'd have radical change. Like that, if you can learn what the pharma has known for the past 30 years, that co-opting our institutions of trust, everything else is downstream of that. There's nothing upstream in culture or trust of those agencies. Because where do we go about that? Right. So they dictate everything. They dictate the nutrition guidelines. They dictate our agriculture incentives. They dictate our standard of care that's jamming a drug down 40% of teens' throats right now. If you can not co-opt them like pharma's doing, but get them back to unbiased science. The NIH right now, 95% of NIH grants, the spending, is on marginal pharmaceutical R&D. It's literally an outsourced R&D lab for pharma. Every person listening would expect that the NIH job is to do foundational research. That's literally what everyone said. It's not at all. If you just with a swipe of a pen and leadership just demand day one that the NIH goes back to population-wide fearless studies about why we're getting sick. That's what we need. We literally need the NIH only asking that question. Why are we getting sick? What variables are tied to chronic disease?
Have you anticipated what kind of backlash and how this would be handled? Like, what kind of backlash would you get from these captured institutions if this did happen, if Trump and RFK get into office and they start implementing these policies and changing things and bringing new people at the helm?
There's one candidate they're shooting at.
Yeah.
Meeting with executive leadership is existential to this issue. I have a company, I'm meeting with members of both sides. This doesn't change without executive leadership. Channel that. These are paper tigers. These are paper tigers, but you need the president to say F you to these industries that are profiting from kids being sick and tell Congress, I'm giving you air cover. Tell those lobbyists to get the hell out of your office. That's the message from the president. With that leadership. Now, are these powerful interests? Is this the biggest industries in the country? Right? Are these the most powerful industries in the country? Yes, but again, whatever Trump is tweeting, whatever he's saying, you have to just ask yourself, and this comes from a person who used to be a never-Trumper, who has the courage to stand up to these interests? Who has the courage? Does anyone think that Trump is afraid to put RFK, put Elon, put brave doctors in charge, to put people that are distrustful of the military-industrial complex in charge of our military? Does anyone think he's not going to do that?